Join today to take your SAT prep to the next level. Members get access to over 1,000 solution videos answering the questions in College Board's question bank and concept-based practice questions with videos to solidify your SAT skills. Thanks for watching. Grateful.
Now going to question number 1 here. Here we're being given a simple equation, 7x is 28, and we can divide that out to find out what 1x is equal to, and it's equal to 4. So to get from there to 8x means we can just multiply by 8 on both sides of the equation, and now we've got 8x equals 32, which is answer choice B for number 1. Going over to question number 2, we have a garden with 760 potatoes and 10% of them are being saved. And we're being asked, well, what number is that? How many are being saved? So let's go ahead and just write 10% of 760. Now to use a percent, you have to put it in decimal form. And that involves taking the decimal and moving it 2 spaces over. So 10% of 760 is the same as saying 0.10 times 760. Now on your calculator, 0.10 times 760 is going to give you 76. And so the answer here is B. Now going over to question number 3. If this printer is producing 42 posters per every 1 minute, we can use unit conversions to get the number of posters per hour. We can multiply this by the fact that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Now this entire fraction here, that's equal to the number 1 because any fraction with equal numerators and denominators is equal to the number 1. And 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. But this will function to make the minutes cancel away. And now we have the number of posters per hour, which is what we were looking for. Now this process guides you through figuring out really if you have to be multiplying or dividing to get your answer. And 42 times 60 comes out to 2,520. And that's our answer for number 3. Going over to question 4, here we see a bar graph with the number of cans collected by every different group. And we're being asked about group 6, which is this bar right here. And the number collected by group 6 is about 40. And so that'll be our answer for question 4. Now going over to question 5. Here we're being asked about the x-intercept. That's the place where our graph hits the x-axis. By the way, the x-intercept is where y is 0. The y-intercept is where x is 0. So where is this curve hitting the x-axis? Right here at 7. And that's our answer to number 5. Here on question number 6, we're being given an f of x statement, and we're being told that x equals 4. So that's f of 4, by the way. And if we go ahead and do that, replace our x's with 4's, we'll get 28 plus 2, which adds up to 30, and that's our answer. Now going over to question 7, here we're being told about a square, which has side lengths of 45. So this question is kind of daring you to forget the difference between area and perimeter, because the wrong answer, the most common wrong answer on this question would be 45 squared, 45 times 45. And if they asked us for the area, that would be okay, but they're not. They're asking us for the perimeter. The perimeter is just the idea of if I'm walking around this shape, how far would I walk? And the distance that I would be walking would be 45 plus 45 plus 45 plus 45. In other words, 45 times 4. And so the answer is 180.
Join today to take your SAT prep to the next level. Members get access to over 1,000 solution videos answering the questions in College Board's Question Bank, and concept-based practice questions with videos to solidify your SAT skills. Thanks for watching. Grateful.
Now, question number 8 here is a surprisingly challenging one because we can't just look at this line and say, okay, well, when y is 4, what is x? Because what's happening is that we're getting an answer that's like in between. It's in between 3 and 4. So instead, we can actually just get the equation of the line. The y-intercept is 7 because it's hitting the y-axis at 7. And as we're going from point A to point B, we're rising -7, we're going down 7, and we're running 8. So the slope is -7 over 8. And like I said, the y-intercept is 7. So the equation of this line is y equals -7/8 x plus 7. That's our mx plus b. Now it's a little easier to say, okay, well, when y is 4, what do we get for x? And we can just go ahead and start solving. We can take away 7 from both sides, and we'll get 4 minus 7, -3, is -7 over 8x. And now to get the x by itself, we can multiply by the reciprocal, -8 over 7. And so on the right-hand side here, we have -8 times -3 over 7 times 1. Because if you don't have a denominator, you have a 1. So we have positive 24 on the top and 7 on the bottom, and that is our x value, and that's C for this question. Now going to question number 9, we have 2 possible ways to do this one. We can take out the GCF, the greatest common factor. Both of these terms here both have a 5. They're both divisible by 5. And they're both divisible by x to the first power. They both have at least one x. So if we set aside the 5x, and we're dividing each piece by 5x, so 5x squared divided by 5x is x, and -50xy squared divided by 5x is -10y squared. So we already know the answer here is going to be A, 5x, x minus 10y squared. But another way to do this is to actually go through the steps to distribute. So if we had answer choice D, 5x squared times 50xy squared, well, that would actually be 250 x to the third y squared. Similarly here, we'd get 50 x to the third y to the fourth. And there was really no point multiplying those two because they're only going to give you one term anyway, and we needed 2 terms. But if you distribute B, you get 5x times x and 5x times -50y squared. So 5x times x, that's 5x squared, and 5x times -50y squared, that's -250 xy squared. So none of those match up. Distributing here, 5x times x is 5x squared, and 5x times -10y squared, that's -50 xy squared, which, as we knew already, totally matched. So the answer here is A. Now going to question number 10, here we're getting an f of x statement, and we're being asked for f of 8. Now remember, if you have an f of x statement and you get f of some number, that means you plug that number in as x. But if you get f of x equals that number, you set the whole thing equal to the number. And the same is true for g of x, h of x, or any other similar type of expression. So here, f of 8 simply means plug in 8 for your x. So now doing this according to PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, that means we have to do the exponent first. So that 8 squared is 64. And 5 times 64 is 320, which is answer choice D. Now going to question number 11, here we're being asked about our knowledge of parallel lines. And if you have 2 parallel lines connected by a transversal, you should look out for C's and z's. And here's what I mean by that. If your two angles form the elbows of a Z shape or a backward Z shape, so for instance here, angle A and angle B, then those two angles are going to be equal, congruent, equal in measure. By the way, those are called alternate interior angles if you're in geometry class. If, on the other hand, your angles create a C shape or a backward C shape, let's call these C and D, then those two angles will always be supplementary. They'll add up to 180. So C's and Z's can take care of a lot of your parallel line woes. In this situation here, we've got a C shape. You have to kind of turn your head sideways to see it, but you've got this angle here and this angle here, and they are doing the same thing that these two angles are doing. So we know by definition, they add up to 180. And by the way, the formal name for those is same side interior angles or consecutive interior angles. But in any case, they add up to 180 with each other. And so we can take away 26 from both sides, and we'll get x is 154. And that's our answer for number 11. Now going to question 12. This question is asking us for a probability. And the starting point for probability is that it's the part over the whole. Here we have a 14-sided die, and we're being asked about one of the 14 faces. So the answer is going to be this one right here. Now, the fact that the number we were looking for is a 2 might make someone accidentally say 2 out of 14. But, like I said before, that 2, it's just one of the faces. So once again, the answer here is A. Now going to question 13, here we have a line of best fit. And to find out the equation of a line of best fit, generally you're going to want to pick 2 points that are as far apart as possible and make your judgments from there. Well, we can see that the y-intercept seems to be around 3. So let's just say the y-intercept is positive for now, unless we need more details. But now, as we're going from point A to point B, how much are we rising and how much are we running? Well, we can get a real number for that or just a positive negative estimate. It's rising by about 12 and running sideways by about 7. So we could get a real number there. Or we could just say for now, the slope is positive. So if we're looking at y equals mx plus b, well, one little curveball on this question is that we should be thinking about b plus mx, because if you look at all the answers, the x part is not first. So the positive slope means that we can keep this one and this one, and we have to get rid of this one and this one because those are our slopes and they should be positive. And the positive y-intercept means we would keep this one and this one and get rid of this one and this one because the y-intercept is also positive. And the one that survived all of this was answer choice A here. Now going to question number 14. Here we're being told of a second data set that gets created when you add 56 to each of the existing values. So in this histogram, what's being said is that we have the exact same histogram with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then 1, 1. But all the numbers at the bottom are 56 greater than our original numbers. So 22 plus 56 is 78. And from there, we're going up by 1. So 79, 80, 81, and 82. Just make it a little neater there. 80, 81, and 82. So now thinking about mode, median, mean, range, let's just do a quick review of those terms. The mean of a data set is the actual average when you add up and divide. The mode is the number that occurs the most often. The median is the middle number if you arrange them in size order. If you happen to have an even number of numbers in the middle, you just take the mean of those two numbers. And the range is the distance between the highest and lowest numbers in your set. So for us, the median is definitely not going to be equal. Well, not to say that the median is definitely 24. The median is the middle number. So if I were to actually count that, I could take the 5 biggest values and the 5 smallest values. And then I can take, let's say, one of the biggest values we see and one of the smallest. And now we see that the median would be 23. So since both of them lay out the same way, I could already tell you that the median of this set would be 79. So anything that tells us that the medians are equal has to be wrong, because we can easily see that they're not equal. And is the median of B greater? Absolutely, because all of set B is greater. So now the second part of the statement is asking us about the range. Is the range equal or is the range greater for the new set? Well, the range is simply the distance between the lowest and highest numbers. So there's a range of 4 here, and similarly a range of 4 here, because the numbers are kind of arranged in the same way. And we don't have to worry about the range changing if you slide every single number over by the same amount. So we want to pick the answer that says that the ranges are equal. And so that is answer choice C.
Join today to take your SAT prep to the next level. Members get access to over 1,000 solution videos answering the questions in College Board's Question Bank, and concept-based practice questions with videos to solidify your SAT skills. Thanks for watching. Grateful.
Now going over to question 15, here we're being asked to make sense of this equation. And the best starting point is that we're told what X and Y both represent. X is the number of hours consulting, and Y is the number of hours drawing up plans. So let's just call it drawing. So now in the equation, we've got 68 and X and 85 and Y equals 1,258. But we're also being told that the 1,258, that's the amount of money. So let's put the unit dollars right here. If X is the number of hours and Y is also the number of hours, the difference is that X is the hours consulting and Y is the hours drawing, then we can kind of see that as a unit conversion. There's a 1 on the bottom. Any number without a fraction is really a 1 on the bottom. And same thing for the 68 and the 85. But the big question here is, what unit do we want in this space and this space? What unit will cancel against hours and leave you with dollars? Because that's what's happening. Something is happening to the hours that's making it disappear and making the dollar sign appear. And the answer to that question is dollars per hour in both of these spaces. Just think about it this way. If you had to multiply $68 per 1 hour times X hours over 1, what you would do is cancel the hours, and then you would bring dollars along with you. And here, cancel out hours, and you bring dollars, which works perfectly because we end up with dollars. So this unit conversion / guessing method is really valuable on the SAT for figuring out what are the units of items where we weren't told the units. So we just figured out that the 68 and the 55 are the number of dollars per hour. So what is the 68? It's the number of dollars per hour as it pertains to the consulting, because the X was the number of hours consulting. If it had been the Y, it would have been the dollars per hour for drawing. Now, which answer says that? $68 per hour consulting. That's perfect, and that's answer choice A. Now going to question 16. Here we're being asked about an intersection. And for intersections, you usually get both equations in the y equals format and set them equal. Here we can't do that because one of them is x equals, and there's no way to move that around. So instead, we can substitute. If x equals 8, then every time we see x, we can replace it with 8. So y equals 8 squared plus 8. That's 64 plus 8, which is 72. And that's answer choice D for number 16. Now going to question 17. Here we're being asked for f of 0. Now f of 0, that should read to you as the y value when x is 0. And so when x is 0, that actually puts you on the y-axis. This line right here is the collection of all the points with an x value of 0. For instance, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, and so on. But that point 0, 3, that's important because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the y value when x is 0 for the curve. And so our answer here is 3. Now going to question number 18. Here we have f of x equals the 8 root x and f of x equals 48. If they're both equal to f of x, then they're equal to each other. So we can just set them equal. Now we can start solving. Well, what is happening to our square root of x? It's being multiplied by 8. So let's divide by 8. Now we have square root of x is equal to 48 over 8, which can simplify to 24 over 4. And really, that's 6. So square root of x equals 6. Now we can square both sides, and we'll get x equals 6 squared, which is 36. And that's our answer for this question. On question number 19 here, we're being given a slope and a point, and we're being asked for the equation of the line. Now, if you're finding the equation of a line, you start with the slope formula, if you haven't been given the slope already, and then you choose between the slope-intercept formula, if you're given a slope and a y-intercept, or the point-slope formula, if you're given a point that's not the y-intercept, in addition to the slope. So here, we are going to use that point-slope formula because we know that this is not a y-intercept, because a y-intercept means that x is 0, and here x is 9. So let's go ahead and use the point-slope formula, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, and we'll plug in the 9 and the 10 as x and y. So y minus 10 and x minus 9, and the slope is negative 1/3. So now we can proceed a variety of ways, but we can distribute the negative 1/3, negative 1/3 x plus 3. So y minus 10 equals that. And then add 10 to both sides, and we'll get negative 1/3 x plus 13. And this is equivalent to answer choice D. Now going over to question 20, this is a classic systems of linear equations word problem. So if we're hearing that the revenue is $80 per adult, then the 80 is the amount of money, but the number of adults is what's missing. So let's make x and y the number of adults and the number of kids. If that's the case, then x plus y is the total number of people, which is 21. Then we're being told the revenue. Now, those are price times quantity statements. For instance, you have $80 per adult, and there are X adults. And you have $60 per child, and there are Y children. And the total revenue is $1,440. So right now we've got 2 equations and 2 variables. And so by definition, that's solvable. What we need is the number of children, which is Y. We need Y. So it would be much better here to eliminate X. So how can we eliminate X? One way is to go ahead and multiply by negative 80 here on both sides, because that's going to give you negative 80x and positive 80x when you add straight down. I'll show you what that looks like. So we have negative 80x minus 80y equals negative 1,680. Now we can bring down this one, 80x plus 60y is 1,440. So now when we add straight down, these will cancel each other. Here you have negative 20y, and on the other side, you have negative 240. Now you can divide both sides by negative 20, and you'll get y equals 12. And that's answer choice C for number 20. Now going over to question number 21, here we have a quadratic situation. Quadratics are any variation of y equals x squared. So here you have an x squared type of equation being set equal to 0. So in any case, know that something like this we can call a quadratic. And the number of solutions for a quadratic is the idea of the discriminant, because quadratics are solved by factoring. But if factoring doesn't work, you can use the quadratic formula. And for the quadratic formula, depending on the number that's under the radical, it'll dictate how many answers you have. For instance, if I had a positive number here, my next step would be to do 2 plus 2 over 3, 2 minus 2 over 3, and I'd get 2 answers. If I had a 0 under the radical, I'd have 2 plus nothing over 3 and 2 minus nothing over 3. The answer would just be 2/3. There would be only one answer. And in this situation, if the discriminant, the part under the radical, is negative, well, you can't continue from here because you're not allowed to have a negative under a radical. So if you have a positive discriminant, you have 2 solutions, a 0 discriminant, 1 solution, and a negative discriminant, no solutions. So if we're being asked how many solutions are there, we just need to figure out what is the sign of b squared minus 4ac. And of course, this is our a, this is our b, this is our c. So b squared minus 4ac is 10 squared minus 4 times 5 times 16. So that's 100 minus 320, which is negative 220. And so a negative discriminant, as we said a moment ago, that's this situation. It's telling us that there are 0 solutions. So our answer here is D. Now going to question number 22. Here you want to make sure you have the circle equation memorized. And that equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. H comma k is the center and r is the radius. So let's try that over here. This is our equation again. And noticing that there is no number here in the original equation, we know the x value of the center is 0. And right here, you have minus 2. So that actually means that the center, the y value of the center is positive 2. And so just like we said in the slide here, you want to look out for minus sign confusion with the circle equation, because the equation itself has minus signs. Therefore, if something looks negative, it's actually positive. So this is positive 2 because of what I said. So that's the center, 0, 2. And the radius is 6 because this number right here, that's your r squared. And if 36 equals r squared, and you take the square root of both sides, what you'll get is plus or minus 6. And for geometry, we really only want the positive 1. So the radius is 6. Now, the question is asking us to go ahead and shift this circle down 4 units and basically do nothing else. So we can take our point of 0, 2. If you move that down 2 on the xy plane, that's going to now be at 0, negative 2. But the radius is still 6. So we'll have x minus 0 squared plus y minus negative 2, which is y plus 2, squared equals 6 squared, 36. So x squared plus y plus 2 squared is 36, and that's answer choice A for number 22.
Join today to take your SAT prep to the next level. Members get access to over 1,000 solution videos answering the questions in College Board's Question Bank, and concept-based practice questions with videos to solidify your SAT skills. Thanks for watching. Grateful.